Welcome back, everyone. Today we are shifting from designing for people to designing with people. We will connect design thinking and user centered design to participatory design, and you will leave with a simple co design recipe. So, moving on, here is a quick walkthrough of today's lecture. Starting with the user-centered design, which is an iterative approach that keeps real users, their goals, and their context at the center of every decision making. The aim is not just usable, it's useful and desirable within real constraints. Instead of relying on hunches, UCD grounds choices in evidence from people's tasks, environments, and abilities. Hold on to that idea of evidence. So we will keep coming back to it. For example, when a product team develops digital products, it takes into account the user's requirement, objective, and feedback. Satisfying users' need and wants becomes a priority, and every design decision is evaluated in the context of whether it delivers value to the users. And the user centered design gives you a way of adding an emotional impact to your products. So, moving on to design thinking gives UCD or user centered design a mindset. Begin with empathy, experiment early and often, and treat every step as a learning opportunity. So we widen first to fully understand the space, then narrow to make choices we can test. It's not about being artsy, it's about reducing risk by getting the right problem and good enough solution faster through rapid learning. So, the double diamond design process is a widely used methodology for identifying a problem and developing a solution. This outcomes based framework encourage creativity and innovation while focusing on the core issue and its impact on end users. So the double diamond visualizes two rounds of diverging and converging. First diamond discover and define the problem, and the second diamond develop and deliver the solution. Different phases call for different behaviors. For example, openness and curiosity while diverging, discipline and criteria while converging. We will use this lens to decide when activities to run, when discover, and when. So to start with discover, the main objective is to understand the problem space thoroughly by gathering insights and exploring the broader context of the design challenge. Um, Defines objective is to synthesize the insight gathered during the discover phase into a clear and actionable problem statement. Next, develops objective this phase the objective of this phase is to ideate and prototype multiple potential solutions to the defined problem, and finally deliver to finalize and implement the best solution and to evaluate its impact. Moving on in practice, success comes from time boxing, divergence, and scheduling. Explicit convergence checkpoint. Decide upfront how you will choose user needs, constraints, success metrics, etc. So, decisions are about evidence, not opinion. When your criteria are clear, convergence is easier. When new data appears, allow a brief widen again and then recommit with what you have learned. So, here is a practical example how the diamond design workflow works. So, first, in the discover phase, it includes user research, for example, conducting interviews and surveys with target users, market research that includes study competitors and industry trends, etc. And also, there are stakeholders interview, empathy mapping, etc. Finally, some examples of define phase includes identifying the problem statement and develop a clear and concise problem that you want to solve. Users journey mapping, which means map users journey to pinpoint their pain points or what are the problems they're facing. And then in phase three, develop. So the main idea is to brainstorm solutions through collaborative workshops or other participatory designing methods. And finally, to deliver, we deliver like high fidelity mockups or prototypes to the users to assess their thoughts on the system. And also the quality assurance are important part of this phase. So, next, divergence versus convergence. Divergence is about collecting perspectives, surfacing assumptions, and generating many possibilities without judgment. Convergence, on the other hand, is about selecting, combining, and sharpening ideas against your criteria. If you find yourself critiquing during divergence, you will throttle creativity. If you avoid judgment during convergence, you will stall. The craft is switching modes deliberately. Next, here are the quick definitions of divergence and convergence. Um, Thinking back to the double diamond process typical for a design thinking workshop, we clearly see diverging and converging territories. Divergence is in collecting in ideas and information about a challenge and creating ideas for a solution. Convergence is in choosing which challenge to work on and committing to a solution through prototyping or storyboarding. So, switch to divergence when the problem is ambiguous, stakeholders disagree, or new evidence contradicts your current understanding. And switch to convergence when your criterias are clear, new ideas repeat, or you are seeing diminishing returns. Expect mini loops. A surprising test result may trigger a short diverge or explore alternatives, followed by a focused converge to choose the next prototype. Next, we are moving on to the idea of participatory design. It's a very important concept in HCI. Participatory design goes a step beyond consultation. It invites people affected by the design to become partners in creating it. So that shift changes the conversation from users give feedback to we share decisions, learn together, and shape outcomes that reflect lived realities. So, participatory design is especially powerful when trust, equity, and context fit are critical to success. So, typical participatory design workflow starts by building relationships and shared goals, then moves into co-brainstorming with generative activities, creating quick skeletal drafts, and establishing feedback loops where participants see how their input changes the decision. You test together, revise together, and make ownership visible through credit compensation where appropriate and clear. For example, you said, and we change moments. It's still iterative, but the we is a broader term here. Next, participatory designs is a stance supported by methods you already recognize. For example, workshops to create share understanding, focus groups to surface perception and risks, co-design sessions where participants make artifacts with you, journey mapping to see experiences end to end, prototyping and usability testing to learn quickly, and surveys to scale follow ups. So, we will touch how and when each method earns and keeps. So, continuing the participatory design methods, we will see in workshops the goal is to create together shared language, concept posters, or option sets that groups can react to. Success depends on clear objectives and inclusive facilitation adaptation, materials everyone can use, prompts that welcome different voices, and a plan for concrete outputs you can carry into the next phase. Think of a workshop as a catalyst for alignment you can photograph and reference later. Next, focus groups help you hear how people talk about needs, constraints, and risk in their own words. They are great early on for attributes and norms, but remember that group dynamics can distort what you hear. Treat insights as directional and triangulate with interviews and observations. The value is the language and concerns that surface, not a vote on the right solution. Next, co-design sessions are the heart of participatory design. Participants help make storyboards, paper interface, or service blueprints alongside you. Provide simple toolkits and prompts. Invite participants to lead parts of making and capture the reasoning behind choices as well as the artifacts themselves. Be explicit about decision rights so contributions translate into real direction, not just a pile of sticky notes. Next, journey mapping, visualize stages, actions, thoughts, emotions, pain points, and opportunities across an experience. Anchor your map in real data, quotes, screenshots, logs, so the story stays grounded. The aim is to reveal the moments that matter most, where a small change could unlock a big improvement to prevent a failure downstream. Next, prototyping and usability testing. So, prototype early and at low fidelity, so learning is cheap and fast. Test tasks, not tastes. Give people realistic goals and observe where time, errors, and confusions appear. A quick ease rating like ACQ on a 1 or 7 scale adds a comparable measure. After the first round, commit to specific changes and then reset. The iteration is where the value appears. Finally, online surveys and questionnaire. Surveys scale what you have learned. They are useful for follow ups, prioritizing themes, or checking whether patterns hold across a larger group. So keep them short, pilot them, and sample thoughtfully so you don't just hear from the easiest to reach voice. Pair survey results with qualitative insights to avoid mistaking opinions for behavior. So, advantage of participatory design when people co create, fit improves, adoption raises, and you discover ideas you would miss from a distance. Participatory design can reduce rework by catching misalignments early and it builds legitimacy. People support what they genuinely helped shape in domains like health, civic tech, and education. That legitimacy and trust are often the difference between a tool that's used and one that's ignored. So, participatory design has some limitations. For example, it asks for time, facility, skill, and careful attention to representation. Risks include token participation, scope creep, and decision dominates by the loudest voice. You're countered those by clarifying roles and decision rights, recruiting inclusively, participating in consent, and fair compensation, and closing the loop so contributors see their impact done thoughtfully. Participatory designs costs are investments that pay off in better fit and trust. So, if we want to summarize the difference between user centered design and participatory design, user centered design centers user within a designer's led process that validates fit through evidence, and participatory designs share power and invites user to be co-designers, producing solutions and community capacity. So you should use UCD to sharpen problem understanding and usability efficiently, and you should use the participatory design when context, equity, and long-term adoption are critical. As you plan your next assignment, choose deliberately and state why your approach fits the problem and the people. So thank you everyone. I look forward to see you in the next lecture.